Mr. Bob Backlund, ladies and gentlemen. Terrific, terrific. By the way, I've been enjoying this evening, hopefully as much as you have. And I want to know, just briefly, can I call Tom Burke up here for a second? You've got applause 5 times already. Come on up and take another round of applause. What the hell? The Holy Ghost Brotherhood of Charity, represented by Tom Burke. Thank you very much. All right. Can we get a little more oomph here? Thank you. Your check's in the mail. Your bonus will be there tomorrow. Okay. They say three's a charm, and I truly believe that as I am about to present these 3 gentlemen. The first individual I'm about to present, and excuse the cheaters, if you wear them, you know that you need them. Gentleman I'm about to introduce, to me, when I met him back in the late 70s, he was young, he was hungry, he had a tremendous collegiate upbringing when he was at West Texas State. Actually, it was West Texas A&M, wasn't it? And the thing that was synonymous about West Texas A&M University, it was football. That was the prime sport. But wouldn't you know it, wrestling was in the cards. People like Stan Hansen, Terry Funk, the list goes on and on. This gentleman was part of it. And as time went on, he moved along. He was with the Kansas City Chiefs for a little bit. He was in the Canadian Football League for a little bit, but it seemed that something else was calling him, and that was wrestling. In 1977, he debuted in Florida, worked in Georgia Championship Wrestling, but in 1979, I think his calling turned for the good because he joined the then World Wrestling Federation. And I'll never forget a story real quickly, and I'm going to be as brief as I can, okay? Back in 1979, I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I said, when I went over my notes, where is he from? Tocula, Mexico. And I said, Tocula? There's no city as Tocula, it's Toluca. And they said, and it was told to me, it's Tocula. And I said, okay. I felt funny, but, you know, our fans didn't care if it was Toluca, Tocula, or Ishkabibble. It didn't matter. They just wanted to see the product, and boy, did he deliver. He came in, and you came in with Ted DiBiase back at that time, and they were the best of friends from West Texas State, and then things really started for him. Because in 1979, in the latter part of 1979, the prominent team in WWF at that time were Luscious Jimmy, Handsome Johnny, and then Gentleman Jerry, the Valiant brothers. Jimmy had a setback with hepatitis, so they brought Gentleman Jerry in. And wouldn't you know it, this young upstart teamed with one of the established veterans, Ivan Putski, and they became the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions. Tremendous. And then he moved on. He left us for a little bit, and then he went to the American Wrestling Association, honed his craft even more, because when it was time, and I'll say it, to come home, he came home with a fury. He came home and he engaged in a feud with Don Morocco, some of the greatest matches I've ever seen. On February 11th, 1984, this gentleman became the first Mexican-American wrestler to win the coveted WWF Intercontinental Championship. Now that title was second only to the big belt. Okay, 1984 was a big year for us because a few weeks earlier, Hulk Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik on January 23rd. And so a few weeks later, here comes this gentleman down the pike, and he wins the championship. And he went into a feud with Greg the Hammer Valentine. They worked into a tremendous program, but what happened was he suffered a little bit of a setback because he suffered a knee injury at the hands of Valentine, which put him on the sidelines for a little bit. But then he came back in 1985. He will always hold the distinction, and it's a trivia question, or as we call it, a Finkel fact. Who was in the opening match of the very first WrestleMania? This man can always put credit to that claim. He wrestled the Masked Executioner, and he absolutely took care of business. 1, 2, 3. So the opening match always sets the stage on a card, in my estimation, folks. This man said it. So things kept going for this man. He kept moving on. He was wrestling other people, with Greg Valentine again. They went round and round and round and round. And then circa 1987, a tag team was born. Folks, in my estimation, in today's business, tag team wrestling is a lost art. And it's a damn shame. I say nothing bad. I just say tag team wrestling, if it's done right, a great story can be told, and those champions that carried the belts back then earned their stripes from me. Strikeforce was born. Strikeforce was born with the gentleman I'm about to introduce and Mr. Rick Martel. The Pile Driver album came out in 1987. Girls in Cars was the first track on the, well, actually it's Pile Driver, excuse me, but Girls in Cars, Robbie Dupree, if you all remember Steal Away, Robbie put the track down, and it was really, really cool. And it was nice to have music. Music, of course, is a valued and vital part of our industry today. So Strikeforce came, and everything worked out fine, and these two individuals defeated the Hart Foundation, and there came the WWF Tag Team Championships. They held them for 5 months, and then at WrestleMania, unfortunately, Demolition pulled the string, and there they went. And then from there, things went bad because Rick suffered a neck injury, if I remember correctly. And then what went on from there, they were inactive as a team until the Royal Rumble in 1989. They wrestled another fantastic team, the Brainbusters. But wouldn't you know it, things didn't turn out well there at all. And it wound up with a little bit of a parting of the ways between our honoree-to-be and Mr. Martel. But then, in our industry, you know, you do things for a reason. And the feeling that I can tell you is, with the split of these two, you knew something good was going to happen because you had two of the incomparable workers in our industry, and they delivered, without a doubt. If you remember what I'm talking about, these two had some fun. Things went on, and more things happened, and one thing I always remember, this is really another strange thing, but it was something that I don't forget. 1992, in the early 90s, character development was very important in the eyes of some, but not many. The gentleman here was given a character. He became El Matador. It was something, of course, that everything you'll be remembered for, but I remember at WrestleMania, Reba McEntire at WrestleMania 8 in 1992 sang America the Beautiful, and now we played this individual's music, and here comes Reba out of the ring, and he comes to Reba, and you kissed her hand, and I don't remember what the conversation was, but I know that was really cool for me to see. But we fast forward now, the man is a successful entrepreneur. He teaches in elementary school, I believe, in middle school in New Jersey. His lovely wife, Leah, has a hair salon called Santana's, which has always been a very successful enterprise. The man played his card right. The man has just succeeded after wrestling, which is always great to see. And tonight, it is my extreme honor and pleasure to present to you in the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2011, the dynamic Tito Santana.
I don't know if Bob Backlund's still here, but one of the greatest people that I've ever met. And to my friends right here, Chief Jay Strongbow, a lot of people don't know, I mentioned it earlier, he was a great teacher to me. You know, we learned, I heard a great speaker not too long ago talk about in life you always run into somebody who is willing to help you. And if you're going to be successful, people are willing to help you along the line. You just got to accept their offer. Rick Martel was a partner with me in the AWA and again in the WWF. We used to talk about how we spend more time together than we did with our wives, and it was true. We still laugh about one night wrestling in Michigan and coming back to Detroit New Year's Eve right at midnight. Him and I are washing our Strikeforce white trunks and knee pads for the next day. You know, things that happen. But I'm not going to keep you long. I did win my first Intercontinental title belt in the Boston Garden, and And the wrestling fans in the Boston Garden, you know, are second to none. If they like you, I mean, they will support you through thick and thin. And every time I wrestled, with or without the belt, the fans anywhere in this area have always supported me. But we are teachers, and there's some of these young guys that I want to continue to teach a little bit, a couple of things before I close. You know, a lot of these guys, all I keep hearing is, you know, they keep belittling themselves. They look up at us like we're gods, and we're just wrestlers like themselves. You know, the wrestling fans, when you go to a match, the minute they step into the ring, you know, they need to stop belittling themselves because the fans see them as a professional wrestler. You know, they're even with us. You know, they need to stop putting themselves down because they are professional wrestlers. They earn the right to lace up the boots and get in the ring, and some of them will be lucky enough to get a shot at wrestling with one of us and learning some, because we continue to teach. So I just hope that they stop putting themselves down, because they are professional wrestlers now. And I want to thank Joe for having me here. And the last thing I want to say, in our business, the bottom of the card would put the time in, and when the main event would come up, and if there was enough time in, usually the main event would cut it short. So the underneath card already put the time in, and I'm going to cut it short. Thank you very much. Arriba!